Part 1. The day money started chasing him. Have you ever met someone who seemed to attract money effortlessly, like wealth just followed them everywhere they went? The kind of person who never seemed to chase opportunities, yet opportunities chased them? Most people look at someone like that and think they're lucky. But luck had nothing to do with it. The truth is, the moment you stop chasing money, money starts chasing you. That's the secret most people never learn. And that's exactly what Daniel Gray discovered the year everything in his life fell apart. Daniel wasn't born rich. He was a small-town man who believed that working harder was the only way to make more. He woke up early, worked long hours, took extra shifts, and still, his bank account barely breathed. His wallet felt like a ghost. Every month he'd whispered the same words to himself. If I can just make it through this one. But one late night, after another day of running after clients who didn't call back, Daniel sat in his dark kitchen and stared at a pile of unpaid bills. He felt like the harder he tried, the further money ran from him. That's when he remembered something his grandfather used to say. Boy, money has ears. It hears your fears. That strange line echoed in his mind for days. What if money wasn't running from him? What if he was running from it? That night, Daniel decided to test something. Instead of complaining, he closed his eyes and said softly, "Money flows to me easily." He didn't believe it yet, but he said it again, this time with a little more conviction. Then something strange happened. His body relaxed. For the first time, he didn't feel like a beggar. He felt calm. The next morning, Daniel walked differently. He spoke differently. He didn't rush through his work. He didn't panic when clients hesitated. He started imagining that money was already on its way to him, running toward him like an old friend who had finally found the right address. And within a week, things began to shift. A client who had ignored him for months called with a big order. A local store asked him to design an advertising banner for their new branch. A stranger referred him to a business group that connected him with even more opportunities. It felt like a hidden door had opened, but the truth was simpler. Daniel had changed inside. He stopped thinking like a chaser and started thinking like a magnet. Napoleon Hill once said, "The subconscious mind does not distinguish between constructive and destructive thoughts. It works with what you feed it." Daniel had spent years feeding his mind with worry and limitation. He thought he was being realistic, but all he was doing was broadcasting poverty. His mind obeyed those commands faithfully. Now, every morning, Daniel replaced every small thought with a big one. When he used to say, "I can't afford it," he now asked, "How can I afford it?" When his old self would have complained, "Business is slow," he now declared, "Money is already chasing me." He didn't just think these words, he felt them. He walked with confidence. He spoke with belief. His subconscious, like a loyal servant, accepted the new commands and began aligning his world to match them. Soon, Daniel realized something profound. Wealth had never been about money. It was about mindset. He understood that abundance is not something you get, it's something you become. Every time he caught himself thinking small, he paused and asked, "Would a wealthy man think this way?" And that question alone reshaped his reality. Daniel began reading books about success, studying the lives of the richest people, and practicing gratitude for every small gain. He treated every dollar like a friend who brought more friends with it. The more he appreciated what he had, the more he received. His discipline became his silent power. Instead of seeing discipline as sacrifice, he saw it as self-respect. He stopped wasting time on distractions and started feeding his mind with ideas, not doubts. He learned that the mind was a broadcasting station, sending out energy every moment, and the universe always responded to the signal you send. Most people don't know this. They think money is something out there, separate from them. But Daniel learned that wealth begins within. When your inner world is filled with scarcity, your outer world mirrors it. But when your inner world vibrates with abundance, the world around you rearranges itself to match that vibration. It wasn't magic. It was mindset. Daniel's old friends thought he had stumbled on some secret business trick. They didn't understand that the real transformation happened the moment he stopped begging for wealth and started commanding it. He became the version of himself that money couldn't resist, the version that walked with clarity, acted with purpose, and spoke with confidence. The version that knew he wasn't chasing wealth, he was creating it from within. And that's when the real lesson hit him. Every belief he had about money had been programmed long ago, by parents, teachers, and society. But if beliefs could be programmed, they could be reprogrammed. The night Daniel realized this, he wrote in his journal, "Money doesn't grow on trees because money grows in the mind first." That was the moment he became unstoppable. He understood that every thought, word, and feeling was planting seeds in his subconscious, and whatever seeds he planted, his reality would grow. He decided that from that day on, he would only plant seeds of abundance. He practiced this until it became second nature. Every time his old voice whispered, "You're broke," he smiled and replied, "Not anymore. Money is already on its way." And slowly, his life began to reflect that truth. Daniel's story is a reminder of the principle Napoleon Hill built his philosophy on. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Once you understand that wealth begins with thought, you stop chasing money and start becoming someone money chases. Because money doesn't follow the desperate. It follows the deliberate. It follows the disciplined. It follows the man or woman who finally realizes wealth isn't a goal. It's a state of mind, call to action. If you're ready to become the version of yourself that money can't resist, make sure to subscribe, share, and comment. I attract abundance. Below. Your transformation starts now. Part 2. The discipline that turned everything around. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to move through life with clarity and power, while others wake up every day reacting to chaos? The difference isn't luck. It's not intelligence either. It's discipline. And for Daniel Gray, it was the single shift that turned his slow progress into unstoppable momentum. After his awakening about how money responds to thoughts, Daniel began to notice something else. His days were a mess. He woke up late, checked his phone first thing in the morning, and rushed through his work like a man trying to outrun his own shadow. Even though he had changed his thoughts, his actions still belonged to his old life. One morning, while sipping coffee, he came across a line from Napoleon Hill. "If you do not conquer self, you will be conquered by self." The words hit him hard. He realized his mind was changing, but his habits were not. He decided that if wealth was chasing him, he needed to make himself easier to catch. So, Daniel started with one small change. He set his alarm 30 minutes earlier. The first morning was rough. His bed whispered comfort, but he whispered back, "Discipline is freedom." He got up, made his bed, brewed his coffee, and opened a worn copy of Think and Grow Rich. He read for 10 minutes, then wrote down his financial goals. Earn $10,000 a month. Save 20%. Invest in learning. Become a money magnet. He didn't just write them, he felt them. He closed his eyes and visualized himself living that life, walking into his office with confidence, seeing his bank account full, helping his parents live comfortably. He held on to that feeling like it was already real. That simple morning ritual began to change everything. Within weeks, Daniel noticed a difference in his energy. He stopped reacting to problems and started creating solutions. He moved through his day with purpose. Instead of drifting through tasks, he acted with direction. He began saying no to distractions that stole his time and yes to habits that built his future. He discovered that discipline wasn't about punishment. It was about alignment. Every disciplined act was a declaration. I value my future more than my comfort. Daniel soon realized that his external world mirrored his internal one. One afternoon, while cleaning his cluttered desk, he paused and laughed. His environment looked exactly like his old mindset, scattered, messy, and unorganized. That's when he understood, your space is a reflection of your mind. He spent hours cleaning, throwing out old papers, rearranging his office, and adding a small note above his desk that read, "Money is chasing me." By the time he finished, the room felt lighter, and so did he. Every morning after that, Daniel's workspace greeted him with order and intention. His mind followed suit. He realized that by organizing his physical world, he was programming his subconscious mind for clarity and success. Then came the next lesson, the power of environment. Daniel started noticing how his friends talked about money. Some joked about being broke, others complained that the rich were greedy. He used to laugh along, but now those conversations felt heavy. He remembered another quote from Hill. "Tell me how you use your time and how you spend your money, and I will tell you where and what you will be in 10 years. So Daniel made a quiet decision. He didn't abandon his friends, but he added new voices to his life, voices of success. He joined a small local business group, attended online webinars, and started reading stories of millionaires who built wealth from nothing. It was uncomfortable at first. He felt out of place among people who thought bigger, but slowly, his thinking began to stretch. Their energy rubbed off on him. The way they spoke about money, with excitement, not fear, was contagious. He began to see a pattern. Wealthy people didn't see money as a problem to solve, they saw it as a partner to collaborate with. They spoke about abundance like it was normal, inevitable. And their lives reflected it. Daniel's environment, both physical and social, became a living vision board. His bookshelf filled with financial classics. His phone was full of motivational podcasts. His evenings were spent writing goals, not watching mindless shows. He was reprogramming his mind through repetition and environment. But the biggest change came through his words. Daniel had always been careless with language. He used to say things like, "I'm broke," or "I can't afford that." He thought those words were harmless. Now he knew better. He realized every word was a command to his subconscious mind, a seed that would grow into his reality. So he changed his vocabulary. Instead of saying, "I'm broke," he said, "I'm reorganizing my priorities." Instead of, "I can't afford it," he asked, "How can I afford it?" Instead of, "Money is hard to come by," he declared, "Money flows to me easily and often." At first, it felt strange, like pretending. But over time, his subconscious began to accept it as truth. And once the subconscious accepts a thought, it starts working day and night to make it real. Daniel started catching himself in everyday moments. When he felt tempted to complain, he paused and replaced the complaint with a declaration of gratitude. When he felt anxious about money, he reminded himself, "I'm a magnet for wealth." Slowly, he began to notice changes. Clients paid on time. Unexpected opportunities appeared. Bills became manageable. He realized something profound. His words were building his world. Napoleon Hill called this autosuggestion, the practice of influencing the subconscious mind through repeated statements charged with emotion. Daniel lived that truth daily. He spoke wealth until his mind believed it. He believed it until his actions proved it. And his actions turned it into reality. He had built a new pattern, a wealthy pattern. He saw that there was no neutral in life. Every choice he made, every thought he entertained, every word he spoke was either aligned with abundance or aligned with lack. By choosing discipline over comfort, focus over distraction, and growth over stagnation, Daniel had reprogrammed his neural pathways. His new default setting was wealth. One evening, as he closed his notebook filled with affirmations and goals, he smiled. The same man who once chased money was now being chased by it. Not because of luck, but because of alignment. And he knew, this was only the beginning. If you're ready to make wealth your default state, start today. Wake up early. Clean your space. Speak abundance. And remember to subscribe, share, and comment. I choose abundance. To lock this truth into your mind. Part 3. The secret frequency of wealth. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to attract success effortlessly while others struggle no matter how hard they try? The secret isn't luck, connections, or even education. It's vibration, specifically, the vibration of gratitude. The wealthy understand that gratitude isn't what you feel after success. It's what creates success in the first place. That realization hit Daniel one quiet morning. He was sitting at his kitchen table, staring at his bank balance, feeling the same tightness in his chest that had followed him for years. The old Daniel would have panicked, scrolled through bills, and drowned in worry. But the new Daniel, the one learning the laws of wealth, took a deep breath and whispered, "Thank you." He didn't have much in his account, but he had something. And for the first time, he truly felt appreciation for it. That single act shifted something inside him. He remembered what he had read the night before from Napoleon Hill. Whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Hill had taught that gratitude was the mental soil where faith and abundance grow. So Daniel made gratitude his new daily ritual. Each morning, before touching his phone or checking his messages, he wrote down 3 things he was grateful for. Sometimes it was small. "I'm grateful for this warm coffee." Sometimes it was big. I'm grateful for the opportunity to change my financial destiny. But every time, he felt the emotion deeply. Within a week, something changed. His stress began to fade. He found himself smiling more, moving with confidence, and noticing opportunities that had always been there but were once invisible. His energy was different, calmer, stronger, magnetic. Gratitude, he realized, wasn't a response to abundance, it was the cause of it. That day, Daniel made a new rule. He would thank every dollar that entered or left his hands. When he paid for gas, he said quietly, "Thank you for the ability to travel." When he bought groceries, he smiled and whispered, "Thank you for this food." When he received payment from a client, he wrote, "Thank you," in the memo line before hitting send. It seemed silly at first, but something remarkable began happening. New clients found him. Old debts were repaid. Unexpected discounts appeared. He felt like money was smiling back at him. Napoleon Hill called this the law of attraction through gratitude. When you focus on what you already have, your subconscious mind begins to create more of it. Gratitude tells the universe, "I'm already wealthy." And the universe responds, "Here's proof." Daniel learned to end each day with the same ritual. Before sleeping, he would close his eyes and review his day, searching for financial blessings, no matter how small. Maybe he saved a few dollars on lunch. Maybe he found a coin on the ground. Maybe someone gave him a compliment that lifted his spirit. He would replay those moments and feel deep appreciation. He noticed something else too. Gratitude was erasing his fear. When he felt thankful, he couldn't feel anxious. When he appreciated life, he couldn't complain. Gratitude shifted his focus from lack to abundance, from fear to faith. And that's when he discovered the next great secret. Faith is not hoping. Faith is knowing. One evening, after journaling, Daniel sat by the window, thinking about how far he had come. The old him hoped things would improve someday. The new him knew they would. He didn't hope money was coming, he expected it. He didn't wish for opportunities, he prepared for them. This wasn't blind optimism. It was educated certainty. He understood the laws of success now. When you align your thoughts, words, and actions with abundance, results must follow. Faith became Daniel's engine. Gratitude was the key that started it. Every time a challenge appeared, a late payment, a canceled deal, an unexpected expense, he smiled and said, "This is part of the process." He didn't see obstacles as punishment anymore. He saw them as teachers. He remembered another quote from Napoleon Hill. "Every adversity carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit." So instead of worrying, he looked for the seed. That small shift saved him from countless moments of panic. Daniel began setting small financial goals. He decided to earn an extra $100 one week, then $300 the next. Each time he achieved one, he celebrated it with gratitude, reinforcing his belief that his mind could create any result he desired. Every success, no matter how small, strengthened his faith until it became unshakable. Faith, he discovered, was not just a feeling, it was a state of knowing that abundance was inevitable. And then came the most powerful shift of all, identity. Daniel realized that his subconscious mind didn't respond to what he wanted. It responded to who he believed he was. If he saw himself as a man who struggled with money, then struggle would follow him forever. But if he saw himself as a wealthy creator, money would follow him. He started speaking differently. When doubt crept in, he declared, "I am wealthy. Money chases me. Abundance is my natural state." He said it in the mirror every morning, even when he didn't fully believe it. Day by day, those words sank deeper until they became his truth. His posture changed. His decisions changed. His results changed. Napoleon Hill taught that identity shapes destiny. Daniel now lived that truth. He stopped acting like a man who hoped to be rich and started acting like a man who was rich in thought, faith, and gratitude. He began making decisions from his future self, not his past fears. He asked himself daily, what would a wealthy man do right now? Then he did that. When he wanted to give up, he reminded himself, a wealthy man is persistent. When he felt fear, he said, a wealthy man has faith. When he wanted to spend impulsively, he told himself, a wealthy man invests. It wasn't easy at first. Old habits screamed for attention. But with gratitude in his heart, faith in his mind, and wealth in his identity, Daniel's old self faded away. He was becoming the man money couldn't resist. By the end of that month, Daniel's income hadn't just improved, his entire energy had transformed. People noticed the calm in his voice, the confidence in his walk, and the light in his eyes. He didn't chase opportunities anymore. They came to him, because now he was tuned to the frequency of wealth. Call to action: gratitude is your secret currency. Begin today. Write 3 things you're grateful for, declare your wealth identity, and walk with faith. If you believe that abundance is your natural state, subscribe, share, and comment. I am Wealth in Motion. Title: Think Like Money is Chasing You, Part 4, The Frequency of Gratitude. Engaging hook. It started on a cold November morning when Michael opened his empty wallet and whispered, "Thank you." It wasn't sarcasm, it was surrender. For the first time, he wasn't asking for more. He was appreciating what little he had. That simple act of gratitude didn't change his bank balance that day, but it changed his frequency. And what happened over the next 30 days proved that gratitude doesn't just attract peace, it attracts prosperity. Michael had spent years chasing success, waking early, grinding hard, doing everything the self-help books said. Yet his financial life stayed stuck in neutral. He felt like he was sprinting on a treadmill, moving fast, going nowhere. But then he stumbled across an old book by Napoleon Hill, and one sentence hit him like a lightning strike. The grateful mind is always fixed upon the best, therefore, it tends to receive the best. For the first time, he began to understand that gratitude wasn't the result of abundance. It was the cause. So, he decided to test it. Every morning, before reaching for his phone or checking his bank app, he grabbed a small notebook and wrote 3 things he was grateful for. The first day, it felt silly. "I'm grateful for my old car," he wrote. "For the roof above me. For this cup of coffee." Simple things. But the moment he wrote them down, something shifted inside. He felt calm instead of anxious, hopeful instead of fearful. He didn't know it yet, but in that quiet moment, he was reprogramming his subconscious mind for wealth. As the days passed, he noticed a strange pattern. Gratitude was changing his vision, literally. Where he once saw obstacles, he now saw opportunities. When a client canceled a project, instead of frustration, he said, "Thank you." The next week, a better-paying client appeared. When his car broke down, he whispered, "Thank you for showing me what needs fixing." 2 days later, a neighbor offered him a ride, and ended up connecting him with a new business lead. It was as if the universe had been waiting for him to stop complaining and start appreciating. Napoleon Hill once said that gratitude is a state of consciousness. It tunes your mind to the vibration of abundance, and abundance always attracts more abundance. Michael began to see that gratitude wasn't passive, it was powerful. It was a decision to focus on what was available instead of what was missing. Each time he practiced gratitude, his energy shifted. And when his energy changed, his actions changed. He spoke with more confidence, smiled more often, and approached his work with fresh enthusiasm. That energy attracted people, and people attract opportunities. But gratitude wasn't just changing his finances, it was transforming his identity. He started to see himself as someone worthy of wealth, not someone chasing it. Each night, before bed, he'd think of small financial blessings that day, finding a discount, getting a referral, or simply having enough to pay a bill. He'd whisper, "Thank you," before falling asleep. Soon, money stopped feeling like a struggle and started feeling like a partnership. He realized that the emotion of gratitude is creative. It tells your subconscious mind, "I already have enough." And your mind begins to seek experiences that prove it true. Gratitude turned his fear of not having enough into faith that there was always more coming. By the 3rd week, Michael's perspective on money had completely flipped. He noticed how people spoke about money around him, how often they complained, how often they said, "I can't afford it." He used to join them. Now, he smiled quietly, knowing he was speaking a new language. Instead of, "I'm broke," he'd say, "I'm reorganizing my priorities." Instead of, "I can't afford that," he'd ask, "How can I afford that?" These subtle shifts weren't just positive thinking, they were wealth programming. His words became commands to his subconscious mind, shaping his behavior and decisions. Gratitude made him mindful. It made him powerful. One morning, he woke up with a profound realization. His external world had started reflecting his internal transformation. His workspace, once cluttered, was now neat and inspiring. His relationships, once draining, were now uplifting. Even his tone of voice had changed, calmer, assured, abundant. Napoleon Hill's principles were no longer just theory. They were alive in his daily actions. He learned that true wealth begins when you stop measuring abundance by the number in your account and start measuring it by the quality of your awareness. Gratitude doesn't just make you feel rich, it makes you magnetic to richness. By the end of the month, Michael's income hadn't just improved, it multiplied. But the money wasn't the miracle. The miracle was him. He had become the kind of person money chases, calm, confident, and conscious. He no longer begged the universe for more. He thanked it for what already was, and that, he realized, was the secret all along. When you feel grateful before the results show up, you attract results faster. When you act as if you're already abundant, abundance becomes your default reality. Gratitude isn't something you wait for, it's something you use. Michael looked around his small apartment, smiled, and said softly, "Thank you." The air felt different that morning. The world hadn't changed, but he understood what Napoleon Hill meant when he said, "When you begin to think and act as if you already possess the thing you desire, it must come to you." Gratitude had unlocked his abundance. Call to action. If this story inspired you, remember, your wealth starts with your words, your thoughts, and your gratitude. Start today. Write down 3 things you're grateful for and speak them aloud with faith. Like, share, and subscribe for the next part of this Napoleon Hill-inspired wealth story, where we dive into the power of faith and action in attracting success. Would you like me to continue with Part 5, Faith That Attracts Fortune, in the same Napoleon Hill story tone next? Title: Think Like Money is Chasing You, Part 5, Faith That Attracts Fortune. Engaging hook. On a quiet Sunday morning, Michael sat in his favorite coffee shop staring at his journal. He had written goals, practiced gratitude, and even changed his daily habits. But something still held him back, a silent doubt whispering, "What if it doesn't work?" That morning, an old man at the next table leaned over and said something that Michael would never forget. "Son, wealth doesn't come to the man who waits, it comes to the man who knows it's already his." That single line became the spark that transformed Michael's belief into unshakable faith. Faith, Michael learned, isn't about hoping things turn out well. It's about knowing they will. It's not blind optimism, it's inner certainty. Napoleon Hill once wrote that faith is the head chemist of the mind. Whatever thoughts you mix with faith will create their physical equivalent. That means if you think about wealth and believe in it deeply enough, your mind will begin to attract the circumstances to make it real. But most people don't understand this. They plant the seed of a goal on Monday and dig it up on Friday to check if it's growing. Then they say, "See? It doesn't work." Michael used to be one of them. He'd set goals, then doubt them as soon as results didn't show up right away. Faith changed that. One night, Michael was reading about the law of gestation, the time every creation needs to form, like a baby in the womb or a seed in the soil. That night, something clicked. He realized his dreams were growing roots even when he couldn't see them. From that day forward, he stopped doubting the process. He stopped asking, "When will it happen?" and started declaring, "It's already happening." Every morning, he visualized his goals with faith, not fantasy. He saw himself shaking hands with new clients, smiling as his savings grew, living in abundance. He didn't just imagine the picture, he felt it. Faith, he discovered, wasn't a thought. It was a feeling, a vibration of certainty that drew opportunities toward him. And the more he believed, the faster they appeared. One week, his laptop broke down right before a project deadline. The old Michael would have panicked. But now, he whispered, "I trust the process." Within hours, a friend called and offered to lend him a new one. It wasn't luck, it was faith in motion. He began to understand what Napoleon Hill meant when he wrote, "Faith is the only known antidote to failure." Faith made him resilient. It gave him energy when circumstances looked hopeless. When people doubted him, he didn't argue, he simply worked with confidence. Faith turned him into a magnet for possibilities. Michael started setting small financial goals to build his faith muscle. The first was simple, earning an extra $200 in a week. He wrote it down, visualized it, and repeated, "Money flows to me easily." 3 days later, An old client called unexpectedly, asking him to complete a small project worth exactly $200. It wasn't coincidence. It was confirmation. Each time a goal came true, his faith deepened. He began to see that success wasn't random. It was predictable, governed by laws just like gravity. The more certain he became, the more consistent his results grew. He noticed that faith not only changed his finances, it changed his energy. He walked taller, spoke clearer, and attracted better people. His confidence radiated calm power. Others could feel it before he even spoke. Faith had become his silent partner in wealth creation. But faith wasn't always easy. There were moments when things went wrong, clients ghosted, bills piled up, plans fell apart. The old doubt tried to return. But Michael remembered what he'd learned. Faith begins where fear ends. So instead of complaining, he took action with belief. If something failed, he asked, "What lesson is this teaching me?" He understood now that every setback was a setup for a greater opportunity. One night, while writing in his journal, he wrote a powerful affirmation. "My faith is stronger than my fear." He repeated it daily until it became part of him. That mindset made him unstoppable. Soon, Michael realized that faith wasn't just about expecting success. It was about preparing for it. He started acting like his goals had already happened. He organized his finances as if he were managing a larger income. He upgraded his workspace, cleaned his environment, and started networking with successful people. He wasn't pretending, he was preparing, and the universe rewarded that preparation. New projects began to flow in, each one bigger than the last. Friends started asking how his life had changed so quickly. Michael smiled and said, "It's not magic, it's faith." Faith had turned his invisible vision into visible success. Napoleon Hill once said that faith mixed with purpose, persistence, and burning desire is the formula that brings riches. Michael now lived by that formula. He no longer hoped for things to get better, he expected them to. Faith gave him peace when results were delayed, patience when progress was slow, and power when others gave up. He understood now that wealth doesn't chase the doubtful. It chases the certain. The more he trusted his vision, the faster it manifested. Faith made him magnetic to money, not because he was lucky, but because his belief became stronger than his fear. That night, as he closed his eyes, he whispered, "Everything I desire is already mine. I just have to keep believing until I see it." He had finally mastered what the wealthy understand, that faith is not hoping for abundance, it's expecting it. And when you expect abundance, you begin to attract it without chasing. Call to action. If Michael's story inspired you, remember this: faith isn't something you wait to feel, it's something you build. Act like what you desire is already on its way. Speak it. Believe it. Live it. Because money doesn't chase fear, it chases faith. Like, share, and subscribe for part 6, where we'll explore how your identity determines your financial destiny. Title: Think Like Money is Chasing You, Part 6, Becoming the Wealth You Seek. Final part, Engaging Hook. It was a rainy evening when Michael stood in front of his mirror, staring at the man he had become. He whispered the words that had changed his life. "I am wealthy. Money chases me." Months ago, those words had felt like lies. Now they felt like truth. The man who once doubted his future now radiated certainty. He didn't just think about wealth, he embodied it. That was the night he understood Napoleon Hill's greatest secret: you don't chase success. You become the kind of person success chases. Michael had spent half his life trying to make money. He worked longer hours, took more clients, and chased every opportunity that came his way. Yet, no matter how hard he worked, wealth seemed to slip through his fingers. It wasn't until he discovered the power of identity that everything changed. He read a line that struck him deeply. "You can never rise higher than the image you hold of yourself." That was the missing piece. His outer results were simply reflections of his inner beliefs. He realized that he couldn't create lasting wealth with the mindset of someone who thought like a struggler. If he wanted to attract abundance, he had to become abundance. So, he began to rebuild his self-image from the inside out. Every morning, he'd look into the mirror and speak powerful affirmations. "I am worthy of wealth. I am a magnet for money. Prosperity flows to me naturally." At first, it felt awkward. His subconscious mind resisted, whispering, "Who are you kidding?" But he remembered what Napoleon Hill taught. That repetition mixed with belief reprograms the subconscious mind. So, he kept repeating those words until they started to feel real. He changed the way he walked, the way he spoke, even the way he thought about himself. Instead of saying, "I'm trying to make ends meet," he began saying, "I'm creating new streams of income." Instead of saying, "I can't afford that," he asked, "How can I afford that?" His language shifted. His energy shifted. And soon, his results followed. But the transformation wasn't just about words. It was about alignment. Michael realized he couldn't declare wealth in the morning and then spend the day acting like someone broke in spirit. He started making decisions that matched his new identity. He stopped accepting small opportunities that drained his energy and started focusing on big, meaningful projects that inspired him. He surrounded himself with people who thought abundantly, those who celebrated success instead of envying it. He cleaned his workspace, dressed with intention, and treated every dollar he earned with respect. His new identity guided every choice he made, and those choices began to shape a new reality. One day, while reflecting on his journey, Michael understood something profound. All his previous struggles were not failures, they were training. They had prepared him to handle abundance with wisdom and humility. He no longer measured wealth by the number in his bank account. He measured it by his peace of mind, his confidence, and his contribution to others. The man who once feared money now saw it as a reflection of his value and growth. He became the kind of person who attracted wealth effortlessly, not because of luck, but because of alignment. Napoleon Hill once said, "Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve." Michael had finally learned to believe in himself so deeply that belief turned into identity. As his business flourished, Michael made it his mission to teach others what he had learned. He told them, "Money doesn't come to you because you work harder, it comes because you think higher." He taught that true wealth begins in the mind, that gratitude, faith, and identity are the three pillars of lasting prosperity. He helped friends change their inner dialogue from, "I can't," to, "I can," from, "I'm not enough," to, "I'm already becoming more." He had become a living example of Napoleon Hill's philosophy, that riches are first built in the mind before they ever appear in the bank. One evening, as he walked home, rain falling softly around him, Michael smiled. He thought about the young version of himself who had once begged for luck, prayed for miracles, and doubted his worth. That man no longer existed. He now carried within him the calm confidence of someone who knows he creates his own reality. Money was no longer something he chased, it was something that naturally flowed toward the identity he had built. He understood the real meaning of success. It wasn't about having everything. It was about becoming someone who could handle everything. Wealth wasn't outside of him. It was within him all along. That night, before bed, he wrote in his journal for the last time, "I am not chasing wealth. I am wealth. I am not seeking abundance. I am abundance. I am not waiting for success. I am success." As he put down his pen, he whispered a quiet thank you to the universe, to his journey, and to himself. Because the truth Napoleon Hill taught had come full circle in his life. When you believe in abundance, speak abundance, and act from abundance, you become abundance. And when you become it, money, success, and opportunities have no choice but to find you. Call to action. If Michael's journey inspired you, remember, true wealth starts within. You don't chase money, you become the kind of person it chases. Start now. Build gratitude, grow faith, and create an identity aligned with abundance. Like, share, and subscribe for more Napoleon Hill inspired wisdom, and begin your own transformation today.